Good morning, Unity North community, and welcome to another Sunday, a chance and an opportunity to be the divine presence that we know you to be. Got some real treats here this morning, and so I invite you to open up your heart and your mind and your spirit to a miracle. Let a miracle happen today. We're going to get started in about 4 minutes. Right now, just kick back, get your coffee, get your juice, whatever it is you've got, and relax, and we're going to have a wonderful day today. Again, if you're just tuning in to join us, welcome to Unity North Atlanta, a spiritual community that is absolutely delighted to have you on the stream with us this morning. Allow yourself to be fully present to the miracle of you and the miracle of this moment in time. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Well, good morning. I'm Rev Richard, and I want to welcome you into my heart and into this space and into this time. The only place that God exists is right here, right now, and so I invite you into the awareness of God's presence, expressed at the point of view and expressed at the point of us as we join together in consciousness. We know that the truth that we are right where we need to be for the greatest awakening. We're right where we need to be for the greatest expression and greatest experience of the vast miracle that is life. And so we're going to begin our time together with this Daniel Nahmod song, I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I invite you, wherever you are, to sing right along with me as we open up the sanctuary of our very being to the miracle of the moment. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. One more time. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Your soul is welcome here. And we're going to welcome you into a consciousness, into a truth. I'm here with a lot of people, but not the least of which is my good friend Lorelei, who is our chaplain on duty. Right now I'm going to invite Lorelei to come forward and to open up the space of the awareness of the oneness that exists between us, regardless of whether you are in the room or you're hundreds of miles away. We belong to each other. Lorelei's going to bring that thread, that truth, to our mind.
Good morning, spiritual family. We are so grateful to be here in this time of change, breakdown to breakthrough. We know that while things on the outer appear to be shifting minute by minute, nothing is shifting inside us. We are always connected to each other, to God, to Source, to the divine. We welcome you into this space of safety, of nurturing and nourishment and belonging, knowing that all hearts are united and we are one, and everything that is happening for us, not to us. As the universe shifts every moment, we are safe, we are secure, and we always belong, because we belong to God, we belong to ourselves, and we belong to each other. And for this, we are eternally grateful. Thank you, Mother, Father, God.
Thank you so much, Lorelei. Always great to have your heart, your consciousness, and your spirit in this field and on this field. So today is a very, very special day for a number of reasons, but not the least of which is our beloved congregant, Harry Cohn. This is actually his birthday, and he turns 100 today. It's an amazing feat, and he's just as bright as he ever was and just as strong. I tell you, the guy is strong as an ox. And so we're celebrating him today. We were supposed to have a big service to celebrate him, but we know life happened in the meantime. So we're going to send some energy through the airwaves to him right now. And the other reason it's special is many members of our board of directors, they're here today. This is typically the Sunday that our board of directors would be ushering. And of course, there was no need for ushering, but I said, hey, let's get your consciousness into the room too. Let's get your spirit, because these are some profound thinkers and some really wonderful people. So I thought we'd start our service today with allowing our board members, you can see them here to my right and to my left, and our board chair is making her way up to the chair right now, and to just wish Harry Cohn, to send a vibe, and we'll all sing happy birthday to Harry Cohn. But right now, let's start with the people on my left over here, and reach out there and say something to Harry.
Happy birthday, Harry, you wizard, you.
Happy birthday, Harry. Two things about you that I was always in awe of is that you are the quintessential, wrong word, sorry, but you're a gentleman, always true to being that. And the other thing that I always love about you is your chuckle. You have a wonderful laugh, and you always find humor in life. So happy birthday, Harry.
Hello, young man. Happy birthday to you. I can't wait to see you again and plow the road for you.
Happy birthday, Harry. You are a role model for all of us. We love you and miss you.
Harry, happy birthday. I definitely look up to you. You've been one of those people that I just think someday I'm going to be half the man that Harry is. So that's my goal.
Happy birthday, Harry. I tell you, one of my strongest memories of you is when we were having a town hall discussing our building, and you stood up and said, "We've always given when you've asked." And I love that heart of service that you have. Thank you, Harry.
Happy and enjoy, Harry. I had my 58th birthday this week, and I want to be like you when I grow up.
I think that we're not telling the truth here in some states. But right now, let's just take a moment to join as a community, to join as a family, to join as a group of people that celebrate the gift that Harry Cohn is to this world, to this country. He served this country well as a Marine. But right now, let us join our voices You guys off mic, I'll be on mic. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harry. Happy birthday to you. We love you, my friend. Look forward to seeing you again very soon. Oh, take a deep breath, everybody. We have started a journey, and we're going to talk a little bit about Harry later on in the talk, but right now I want to recap. We started a series, a 4-part series that began last week. And last week we began that journey with asking the question, what is the altitude of your attitude? Of course, the series is called Do You Have an Attitude? And we understand the truth that we all have an attitude. You're part of the human race. You're going to have an attitude. But it was important to ask the question, where is the vibration of the attitude that you're bringing to the world? Is it at a high place or is it a very low place? Well, today we're going to bring it and be a little more specific, what I like to call rubber meets the road spirituality, to bring it down to earth and to ask the question, what is your attitude about circumstances? The circumstances of your life, the circumstances of our nation. You know, there is a lot up in the world. Have you noticed that? If you've been paying attention at all, there's all kinds of things up in the field, all kinds of circumstances and opinions and conditions that are rampant all over the planet right now. What is your attitude about these things? Because your attitude is determining whether or not these things continue or fade away. It's determining certainly whether you have peace of mind in the midst of the chaos or if you are a part of the chaos. And so I'm going to light this candle. We begin by lighting this candle as a symbol of the light, which represents an attitude of the Christ, an attitude of goodness. And I'm going to invite the board of directors to also light a candle as a symbol of their willingness to bring a light, to bring a peace, to bring a truth, to bring a greater perspective to the candle that represents their hearts and their spirits. So I want to ask the question as we light that candle, is your attitude in life dependent on what's going on out here? Or is it dependent upon what's going on in here? Is your life and the attitude that you bring to life dependent on what's going on in the world, that everybody's showing up the way you think they should show up, that all things are working together the way you think they should, or are you living in the world of cause, yourself as the cause of your own reality? Your thoughts, your attitude, your feelings, your connection to the infinite on the inside as the cause of the reality on the outside. It's the cart before the horse if we do it the other way. Well, I'll be happy when. I'll be satisfied and peaceful when this happens. And until that time, no, I won't be. It's important to challenge that a little bit. Life is forever changing. We know that. We can count on the inevitability of life changing and morphing. And if we are attached to things out here being a certain way, we are setting ourselves up to a perpetual state of suffering because it's all going to change. I love the old adage that it's important to recognize, if life isn't working, if things are bad in your life and frustrating and it's just not working the way you think, don't worry. It will change. But on the other side of that is, if everything's working perfectly the way you think it should, if life is peaches and cream and a bed of roses, don't worry, it's going to change. The reality is, life is forever moving and shifting with color and texture and ups and downs and everything in between. The constant is us as the creator of our experience, outside of the realm of whatever is on the outside. Everything is always changing, and so our attitude and our commitment to the presence of God expressing at the point of us, no matter where it is out here, is vitally important. So our first song that I'd like to share with you is Everything Must Change. But before I get into that, I wanted to share a little Buddhist teaching. It's one of the Buddhist modalities that talks about the 8 winds. The 8 winds, and those 8 winds are gain and loss, praise and ridicule, credit and blame, suffering and joy. It is said that if you are not aware of these 8 winds, that you can easily become like a dry leaf blowing in the wind, when the winds of any of them come up, and notice that some of them sound negative, and some of them sound positive, ups and downs. But if we are attached to these things, and guess what? We become like a dried up leaf in the wind, subject to the whims of the wind. For example, somebody praises you, somebody gives you a compliment, and it tastes like sweet candy in your mouth. It's so sweet that you become so attached to that compliment that it defines you. You are being blown about like a dry leaf in that moment. We're talking about non-attachment today, an attitude of non-attachment to the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And so there is a story. One day in ancient China, a young man had thought he had become enlightened. And he wrote a poem to his master about how he was no longer blown about by the 8 winds of the world. And he sent that beautiful poem to his master, who lived 300 miles away up the Yangtze River. And when his master read the poem, all he did was write on the bottom, puff, puff. And he sent it back to his disciple. Upon receiving the poem, the young man saw the words puff, puff, the words of his master, and that's all that was there. And the more the young man read those words, the more upset he got. At last he decided to visit his master. And in those days, a 300-mile trip up the Yangtze River was a very difficult and arduous journey. And as soon as he arrived at the temple of his master, he ran to his feet and he bowed. And he said, "Why? Why did you write this puff, puff?" He asked, bowing. "Doesn't this poem show clearly that I am no longer blown about by the 8 winds, that I am enlightened?" And the master took a breath and smiled at his disciple. And he replied, "You say that you are no longer blown about by the 8 winds, but 2 little puffs blew you all the way up here, 300 miles up the Yangtze River." You know, it's easy to think that we've got it all together, and then life happens. And let me tell you, life is happening right now. Puff, puff. And it is important to understand in this moment that life's going to change. And so this beautiful song kind of speaks to that idea before I continue. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. Nothing and no one stays the same. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except that rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring, and a wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything will change. The time comes to let go. So that life unfolds, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. except that light turns into dark, dark turns back to light, and music makes me cry. Everything will change. Everything must change. Everything will change. Everything is going to change. Everything, ups and downs, and every possible experience in the middle. It's going to come your way. And the attitude that we bring to whether it is good, bad, or otherwise is the most important thing. Every week I'm offering a beatitude. One of the beatitudes, our master teacher Jesus, the way shower, our elder brother, he gave us and started his greatest teaching, the Sermon on the Mount, with the beatitudes, the beatitudes, attitudes that I witnessed in all of these board members who are going to speak in a moment. And each week I want to take one and peel it back a little bit more. I want to take Beatitude 2 today, which says this: Blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. In regard to our attitudes about the circumstances of life, inevitably flexibility can mean grief. It means letting go of something so that I can be something. And that means being okay with grief. As I examine the world and as we know it today and as we experience it today, I think there's a lot of grief that's going unanswered, going on in the world today. The tension that we feel, the anger that we are experiencing, if we can peel that onion back a little bit, there's grief there. And when we go to give up our ways of doing things, there's going to be grief. I've had that way and that habit and that tendency for my whole life. And now you're asking me to give it up? Yes, I am. And that means we will grieve together because I'm giving up my habits as well. So the Beatitude says that when we can experience that grief, we will be comforted. You create the void, you create the space, a comforter, a Holy Spirit emerges, and something greater can be born. Ed Townley. Last week I went to Dr. Rocco Errico. Today I'm going to go to another Bible scholar, Reverend Ed Townley, a Unity minister who has written some profound things. This is what he says about Beatitude 2. Jesus often warned that the spiritual transformation to which he called his followers requires so much change, so much letting go of old attitudes and customs, that it might often feel like an experience of death. And I know you're seeing the words right now. Please read along with me. Spiritual transformation is a constant process of letting go. We relinquish our hold on people, places, and things as we realize they are neither the problem or the solution. I want you to breathe that one in thinking about the conditions of our world and our country today. They are neither the problem or the solution. The presence and the power of God are all that we need. So what is the attitude that is called for here, no matter what is going on the outside? It is one that says, God's got this. God's got this. God is the source of the answer, of the healing. God is the source of the prosperity. God is the answer that we need, but we must turn within. Otherwise, the winds are blowing, and we become the dried up leaf. Reverend Townley continues. Every letting go gives rise to a deep sense of grief. Not just the letting go we call death, but even the most joyful release of negative attitudes. The most freeing dissolution of jealousy or possessiveness. Each time we let go of something familiar, we are triggering a sense of grief. That's when we make room for God. The universe abhors a vacuum. When we get rid of those things that are not serving the whole or even our own individual life, the universe, the cosmos, God, by whatever name you want to give it, rushes in. And it is amplified when we turn within intentionally, meeting God in the inner sanctum and sanctuary of our very being. You don't get to be 100 by accident. And I talked to Harry Cohn, preparing for today's message. 100 years young today. It takes a lot of good attitude and a heck of a lot of letting go. He's experienced beatitude too, mourning. But he also experienced turning within to God and the comfort that came with that. Well, I asked Harry for a quote. I celebrated his birthday with him last Saturday, and I asked him to reveal a little bit about his attitude with a quote that I would offer you. And so once again, here is our beloved Harry Cohn, and here's how he answered my question. Never worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow isn't promised. Make plans, cherish the moment, and turn it over to God. It sounds like the teaching of a Buddhist monk. A teaching of detachment. The greater life came when Harry Cohn let go of the way he thought life was supposed to be. And he developed an attitude that God was always greater than the circumstances of his life. He found God in a foxhole during World War II. He also found God and turned to God when he was told, he and his beloved wife Marjorie sat there before the doctor, and the doctor said, Harry, make peace. Get your affairs in order. And he turned to Marjorie and said, you're going to have to get yourself another boy. This one's not going to make it. They left that office, and Harry went immediately to prayer. And he listened to a still small voice. He didn't let the diagnosis define him. And what he heard was a voice that said, Harry, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. With what's going on in our world today, I want to channel that same inner voice. I want to follow the hero that is Harry Cohn, follow his footsteps. I want to listen to the Beatitudes and the voice of the masters that tell me that I'm going to have to give something up, and in the giving up and in the turning within, I will find a greater life, a greater truth, a greater peace. The world needs this right now. This community wants to be the voice for turning within to God. So there are 3 areas, and I've got my board members here because I've asked them to comment on these 3 areas. So they're a part of the message today. The 3 attitudes that I have seen Harry Cohn in my years of playing cards with him and sharing spiritual ideas that I gathered from those moments. And those 3 attitudes, which are important, 3 beatitudes from me. An attitude of intention and purpose, number 1. Number 2, an attitude of non-attachment. Non-attachment to our tendencies, our habits, our history, or a lot of things. Those attachments will make us be blown to and fro by the 8 winds. And the 3rd one, an attitude of follow-through and perseverance. So we're going to start with that first one. The most important foundation of the house that we are building here during this time, during this pandemic, during this time of racial tension, during this time of not knowing. An attitude of intention and purpose. We're getting a lot of time to be still, to have some self-inventory. You see, we're not here at this time where you are, in your family, in your environment, by accident. You're not in any situation that you are in by accident. There is a reason for your being, and your soul knows what it is. That voice that said you're going to be all right knows what that purpose is. You signed your name to a contract on this earthly journey. And it is our job to have an attitude that remembers that contract at all times, no matter what's going on the outside. The attitudes that we are carrying around at any given moment are indicating whether we are on contract or off, whether we are on purpose or not. What is your mission? What is your vision? We must know it clearly. Because when circumstances shift and the winds begin to blow, if the attitude is morphing with the winds into something that is not conducive to fulfilling your vision and your purpose, you have forgotten what it is you were born for. The world's going to come and it's going to distract you. And let me tell you, there are so many distractions going on right now. Everything will change. And it's going to challenge your resolve. So I'm asking you as a spiritual community to begin to have the attitude of knowing clearly what is your purpose. And so I asked my board of directors, and I don't know who's going to answer it. Some will answer the next question. What is your purpose and your intention? And how does it inform your attitude in regard to the ever-changing environment of Unity North? Let me tell you, this place, just when you think you got it figured out, it shifts, it changes. And our board of directors know that as much as anybody. So what is your purpose and your intention, and how does it inform your attitude in regards to the ever-changing environment of Unity North? I'll ask you to say your name if you answer so that we get a chance to know you a little better. Don't be shy. Who wants to go first?
My name is Ray Hughes, and acceptance is the word that I have learned to live with and to accept. Things do change. They change all the time. I experienced a major change Friday when I said goodbye to a 16-year friendship with my dog. And I am going through a major change in my day-to-day life because there's an emptiness there that wasn't there before. But we also go through change here again and again and again with all of the COVID, with the admin building, with everyone coming in here with their own lives and being able to accept them as they are at that given moment, even though that may not have been how they were yesterday.
Thank you, Ray. Anybody else want to answer that one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I am David Richard. You know, I, like probably most of y'all, have done workshops where you try to figure out your purpose in life. And I really wanted to come up with some magnificent purpose that was, and I just never did. And finally, I just had to let it go and really ask Spirit, what is my purpose? And the word that I got was love, just to be love, to experience love. And what I've found that a lot of that also has to do with letting go of attachment in relationships and people. And as far as this community goes, it's letting go of attachments of how I think things ought to run or programs that I think that we ought to have or any of that. Just to let go of that, just to be still and be love and follow up on what Ray said is acceptance.
You got time for one more. Anybody want to grab that one?
I'd love to, if you don't mind.
Sure.
My name is Jenny Langer, and this is my third year on the board, so my last one. My intention is to be of service. For more than a decade, I was a lurker here at Unity North. So I sat in the back and participated. I did small spiritual connection type groups, but you know, I was never really that involved or that connected. And I took everything that Unity North and the community had to give, which was wonderful, and really changed my life and many of my perspectives on life. Well, I woke up one day and, much like David, said, what's my purpose? And I realized it was service, and I started looking around, where can I be of service? Well, where better, right? To the place that I got my spiritual food. And so that's when I made the decision to start getting involved in tasks that I don't normally love, like finance and bookkeeping and all of that, but that was where there was a need. And so I realized that servant leadership is really important, and it's not about being up on stage and being recognized. It's about doing the work that needs to be done to keep our spiritual community thriving. And it's not about me, it's just the task that has to get done. And that to me is real service, is, you know, cleaning the toilets if they need to be cleaned, or doing the books if they need to get done.
I love that journey. You go from lurker to board chair. That's a big leap. That's a 300-mile journey down the Yangtze River, but it's one that I'm glad that all of our board members have made. I'm going to let Sylvia, because I know you wanted to say something about that question.
Well, I'm Sylvia Drawn, and this is my first year on the board, but I just come up with the word nourish. My intention is to nourish Unity, to nourish the congregants, our organization. and to do what I can to take care of something that I feel ownership of and love dearly. And I encourage all of you to grasp that ownership and provide that nurture as well.
Thank you, guys. Every one of us has a true north. Every one of us has that still small voice that it says, you have been born for this time. It's not an accident. You have been born to be the light of the world for whatever is going on the outside. And so that true north that gets us to our destined harbor, it is important to revisit moment to moment, day to day. Every time you breathe, every time you speak, every time you act, is love, is service, is compassion. Is this coming out of my mouth? Is this the way I am responding to the winds when they happen, good, bad, or otherwise? That true north is essential. And so I'm going to move to the second one. Because when you ask yourself the question, what is my true north? That which does not belong within the circle or within the field has to be released. The work of art that needs to emerge, that is the life that you are destined to live, we must begin to pull away that which does not belong. And so attitude number 2, and I'm asking us to adopt, is an attitude of non-attachment. An essential part of the spiritual path is self-inventory. Where do our actions, our thoughts, our feelings, our attitudes, where are they out of congruity with our purpose, our reason for being born? You know, we all have tendencies. I've owned them a lot from this platform. We all have habits that tend to let ourselves be distracted. It's like the perpetual dog from the movie Up. Squirrel! Squirrel! And we think we've got it together. And somebody writes puff, puff on the bottom of a paper, or says something that resembles puff, puff in a meeting, or puff, puff in a family gathering, and suddenly, squirrel! I'm back to my tendency. I'm back to that knee-jerk response. That is not who I am. It's not my purpose. I need to take inventory in that moment. Go ahead and feel it. But sure enough, the very condition that has caused me to go off balance before is going to show up again. I would love to say that there's an instantaneous enlightenment. I'm no longer defensive. But the reality is, if you're on a growing path, the next layer of processing my defensiveness, which is my go-to, let me put up a wall really quick and defend, it's going to come up again and again. I'm so much better than I used to be, but it's a part of something I have to manage. An attitude of being aware. Isn't that interesting? I'm having these feelings in my body. Somebody at a board meeting, somebody at a staff meeting said something, and there it is again. The next level of my growth, the next level of returning to my purpose is right there in front of me. And I have to give up that old way of being. Blessed are those that mourn defensiveness. That old habit, because they will be comfort. There's comfort on the other side. And so I ask the board members again, what personal tendencies and habits have you had to confront and release in order to raise the vibration of the whole that is Unity North and the whole that is the world? Personal tendencies and habits that you have had to confront and release. And let me tell you, you don't get on the board and not grow. You don't serve on the board or the staff of this church and not grow. And so, who wants to take that one? Anybody want to grab that?
I'll take it. I'm Diane Glenn. For me, I'm a Virgo, so it's perfection. I have to release the idea that things don't always have to go the way, number one, I want them to, and they don't always have to be perfect. And sometimes it's the falling down that is the learning tool that I need, to do better, to allow the community to grow and to do better, and to be open to the idea that it's in the imperfection that God lives at all times. And that's, for me, I think one of the biggest things that I have learned to, or still learning, to let go of, is that idea of perfection. My mantra for this church is, what is in the best interest of the people that we serve. It's not my best interest, but it's Unity North and the people that come through the door, what's in their best interest. And so the idea, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I think these past few months, since we've been in the pandemic, we have learned as we've moved forward, and we've never done any of this before, and it hasn't been perfect, but it's been wonderful. So it's a constant learning lesson for me.
Thanks, Diane. Anybody else want to grab that one?
Yeah, Mike Stott. And Thank goodness I'm not my thoughts. Because if I was everything that I first thought, I tend towards sarcasm and humor. I think my purpose would be joy bringer to the world, and I don't react well when I'm under stress. And my thoughts under stress, I have to release them. I have to let them go, and I have to realize they're just a thought. And then what I'm learning through my journey with Unity is that your thoughts are just your thoughts. There's no judgment on me. There's no judgment on really anything. They're just thoughts. And so what that's allowed me to do is just become more curious as to why am I having this thought. And then I've realized I may have a lousy first thought, not so good second thought, but by then, because I've been able to breathe and recognize that I am not my thoughts, I'm able to take a right and appropriate action in physical reality. The thoughts just live in visionary reality. Physical reality is where joy is brought, and that's where I get to take actions. Now, sometimes it may take me 5 or 6 thoughts before I get to the right action right now.
I appreciate that. And I tell you, some of my favorite thoughts expressed on the board are usually Mike Stott's third or fourth thought. Anybody else want to grab that one?
I will. My name's Terry Seek, and one of the things that I've had to come up against, especially since being on the board and let go of, is your expectations of other people. And that's not necessarily a good, it's not necessarily a bad, but last year I was the board chair, which means I got to kind of try to control this group as we were going through these meetings. And it never seemed to surprise me how every meeting someone would show up in a way that just completely amazed me. And I couldn't think. I mean, sometimes you just don't know what to think. You come into a subject and you think, well, this group and these people, and we're going to have this, and this is how the discussion's going to go. And then it's completely different. Completely different. And this, you know, it carries over to my personal life as well, where I work with the public and I have clients who come in and you meet someone and you used to shake their hand, now you just wave at them from a distance. And you start your conversation and you think it's going to go one direction, you think you're going to do something, and this person shows up in a completely different way. And if you hold on to the attachment of, I see this person this way, this is the way they're going to show up, and this is what I have to expect from them, and I'm going to get that, then you're going to come up against friction, and that friction is going to create so many problems in the interaction that you're trying to have. So what I had to learn, as I'm always learning, is you let go of that attachment. You don't expect this person to show up in that way. You just let them show up the way they are, be surprised by the beautifulness that's there, and move forward with that.
Can you see how interesting our board meetings might be? How rich and sometimes frustrating, but when there is a commitment to finding the face of God across the board table, and a commitment to finding the face of God on your side of the table as well, something magical and beautiful happens. Not only does the church grow, but the individuals grow. As it is above, so shall it be below. And as it is in consciousness, so shall it be for the entire world. That's how powerful we are as spiritual beings. And what a rich environment it is to spend time with people who are here as representation of each and every one of you watching. Whether you're here for the last 30 years or you're here for the first time today, these people are holding the high watch for you, much like your staff, your chaplain corps, and the wholeness ministry. So we go to our third attitude. Our third attitude is an attitude of follow-through, of perseverance. This is where most dreams go to die, where most people don't want to see things through to the end. Well, I tried to be nice in the meeting once and it didn't work, so I gave up. I tried to see the face of God in that family member once, but it didn't work, so I quit. And the reality is the spiritual path and the attitudes that we are asking, these be attitudes, they're not for the faint of heart. They are for people who are truly committed. One of the 12 powers of humanity is laid out by our founder, Charles Fillmore, is strength. It is the ability to keep going when you're tired. It is the ability to keep going when you are worn out. It is the ability to keep going when you have come to the edge of your own intellect and your own experience and your own wisdom to know that you will not be left alone, that you will find the face of God just by the pure intention of it to begin with. Harry got to be 100 years old because each time he fell and he was tired, he got back up again. The book of Proverbs says it. There's a Japanese proverb that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. The group of people you see before you are people who got up 8 times. As long as it takes in order to fulfill the purpose for which we have been born. The contract that I have signed my name to, that they have signed their name to, that you have signed your name to, the diligent practice of grieving that which doesn't belong on that contract goes away. Unity North as a community has done just like Harry has done. And we've lived, I believe, 100 years within the last 15. We have fallen down. Things have gone into turmoil. We're dealing with it right now. How do we manage a quarantine? How do we manage the finances during a quarantine? How do we manage an issue with an admin building where a part of our structure is about to probably be torn down because it's not salvageable? It's up. The winds are blowing. Who are we, whether we have an admin building or it's not there? Who are we, whether we are in the room or we're not in the room? It remains constant, and we get up 8 times. We are here to experience all of life. And before I ask the final question of our board, I wanted to offer this song that speaks directly to the message that you're going to taste 1,000 different things in this banquet table that we call the earthly experience. We were born to experience it all, but not let it define us. As Jesus said, we're in the world. We're in it, folks. But we are not of this world. And is it possible that no matter what is up, we can find the face of God? Yes, it is. In fact, it is imperative for whatever happens to be in the field of the human race right now, or the field of Unity North, or the field of your heart. It is important that you taste the experience, but don't let it define you. Let love have its way. The song is called Born to Live. We were born to live, not just survive. Though the road be long and the river wide, though the seasons change and the willows bend, some dreams break, some others mend. We were born to give and to learn to take, to win and lose and to celebrate. We were born to know. We were born to muse, to unfold our hearts, take a chance and choose. We were born to love, though we feel the cold, when a ship sets sail to return no more. Though a door be closed and we feel the pain, to chance it all and to love again. We were born to reach and to seek what's true, to surrender it all and make each day new. To laugh, we were born to cry, to rejoice and grieve, just to be alive. We were born to hope and to know despair, and to stand alone when there is no one there. trust and to understand that in every heart there's an outstretched hand. We were born to love, to be right and wrong, to be false and true, to be weak and strong. We were born to live, to break down the walls, and to know that life is to taste it all. Is to taste it all. We were born to live. You were born to experience this journey that you are on. You were born for this moment in this time. Don't give up on the presence of God doing business as you. Never, ever quit on the God doing business as you. And so I have a question for my board of directors. What is your method for keeping your attitude at a high altitude, keeping your attitude at a high vibration, even during challenging, difficult, and dark times and circumstances? Board?
I'll take this one. First, I have to say that sitting on this stage and feeling the vibration of your voice and that piano,
Thank you.
I'll never forget it. It just reminds me how much I miss being here and seeing everyone's faces, smiles, and singing. It's beautiful. And so to answer the question, what method do I use? I think of the racial tensions that stress our society right now, and the method I use is to try to ask questions to those whose lives are different from mine, and to listen closely to their answer. And as I listen to the answers of those whose lives have been affected in different ways from history than mine has been, I've come to realize that there are stories behind Black Lives Matter. And those stories have begun to touch me. And there's a shift and a transition that's inevitably happening. And I realize that I can be, not just want to be, but I am going to be part of that transition at Unity and in my world, in my society, and even in my family. And I've realized that there are things I can do that may be small, and I'm doing those, whether it's putting a social justice yard sign at our house in the neighborhood, or whether it's working at a polling precinct for elections. And I want to be part of that transition and that shift that is transforming our world slowly.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to grab it?
I have two words that I keep saying to myself to remind myself. Those words are not two. We're all one. We're all connected. This whole world, everyone sitting here, everyone out there, all the animals, all the trees, we're not two. Anything I do affects everything and everyone. That's a responsibility I have to myself and to everyone else. Not two.
Thanks, Ray. Anybody else?
Yeah, it's the word gratitude comes to me, and I really know when I get away from that, because I lose my focus, I lose my desire to follow through. I begin to think that I don't have enough, or something is wrong, or any of that, until I sit down and look around me at my home, at my surroundings, at my country, certainly sitting up here and feeling the energy of Unity North, and what this place, what you all have meant to me, I have to stay thankful, or I just lose my place in life.
Good one.
For me, there's a little mind worm that I do whenever I feel like I have to do something. I have to do the finance committee. You know, I change it to I get to. Very simple. And whenever I do that, I immediately remember, and I'll butcher the quote from Unity, I fairly spring forth with a mighty zeal and enthusiasm to do the things that ought to be done by me. How can I not do the work that's there before me? It's a joy, it's a pleasure, it's a gift, it's a contribution rather than a chore or a requirement. And I have that quote literally in like 6 places in my life, and the get to. So just try it this week. Anything you have to do, just change the words to I get to.
Anybody else?
Sure, I'll take this one. I was blessed with wonderful parents who taught me lots of rich lessons. One of them is that there are only really 3 things that I can control. The first is your attitude. The second are the choices that you make. And the third is the effort you put into anything. And so I always remember that. And I remember my dad sitting on the steps in our foyer and next to, an 8-year-old child going, it's your choice as to whether or not you do your homework and what effort you put into it. My attitude is I'm paying for a private school, and if you're not putting your choice in, you will no longer be going to that school. And so at 8 years old, I learned it was my attitude, my effort, and my choice as to the circumstances in my life, and I really thank him for that. So I've learned you got to put in what you want to get out.
There is 1,000, a million ways to remember why you were born. 1,000,000 ways to let go of that which doesn't belong. And an infinite number of ways to get back up when we've fallen down. Your minister in this community has fallen down a lot. I'm pretty talented at falling down. But I'm proud that I'm a little better at getting up than I am at falling down. And that's what Unity North is all about. That's what this community is all about. Find the way that works for you, that allows your attitude to be centered on the source, on the truth. And so we're going to go into a time of reflection. I invite you to get really comfortable to take one word or phrase or idea that's been shared here. And with each step, with each thought, with each moment, we are making it to higher ground, not only for ourselves individually, but for every person, black, white, yellow, red, brown, gay, straight, conservative, liberal, it makes no difference. Not 2, 1. With each step, we're moving higher. With each step, we're moving on. With each step, we're moving higher, on to higher ground. Sing that with me. With each step, we're moving higher. With each step, we're moving on. With each step, we're moving higher, on to higher ground. With each step, we're moving higher. With each step, we're moving on. With each step, we're moving higher, on to higher ground. With each step, we're moving higher. With each step, we're moving on. With each step, we're moving higher, on to higher ground. And as you close your outer eyes and take that internal step the most important step you will ever take, the one right now. Picture yourself turning 100 years old. How did you get there? How did you manage the waters that inevitably you had to manage to get to be 100? What was your purpose? What were the attitudes? What did you have to get rid of in order to make it to 100? Puff, puff, 1,000 puffs will come your way. Who are you when the world puffs and the winds blow? You are more than a dried up leaf, subject to the whim of the wind. You are the veritable presence of God. Spirit incarnate, love in form, the entire cosmos at the point of you. That's how important you are. That's how important you will always be, whether you live to be 80, 90, 100, or 120. Your mission and your vision will be accomplished by your attitude. And the presence of God beams from within you, saying, "Here is my child in whom I am well pleased." Happy birthday, Harry Cohn. Happy birthday, Lorelei Robbins. Happy birthday, Board of Directors of Unity North. Happy birthday, dear courageous person sitting in your skin. Job well done. Blessed shall you be as we sit within the silence. And so I ask each board member to conclude our meditation with a short statement from your 100-year-old self, from the courageous warrior of yourself that mourned what wasn't needed and became that which was. We'll start with Terry on the end and work our way down.
Hold on to the good things, let go of the bad, and keep your focus on the road ahead.
When you feel yourself, distressed, take that breath and take a step forward. And in that step and in that breath, God exists. And it is God that is your guide. Breathe it in and take the step.
That which you are is excellent, is now, has always been, and always will be.
Realize the power that is in you and know that there's nothing too little that you can do that matters. Reach out and call someone who you haven't seen in a while. Together we are stronger and bigger than the isolation of the coronavirus. Take care of each other.
Grieve your losses. Celebrate your wins. Be love all the time.
Live with joy and dance. Dance like no one's watching.
Be brilliant, be beautiful, be kind.
So we bring in the 3 board members that could not be with us today, but they're here in heart, and they are all very wise souls. So Ella Starr, we've connected with you. Dr. Eugene Kirkpatrick, we're connected with you as well. And Stacy Jackson, you're here right here with us right now, as we all are one in this moment. There are methods, and I want to just give you a couple as an announcement. We're having Rumi in the Garden. If you want to find a way to get connected, come out and join us the last Wednesday night of August in the Garden, the beautiful poetry of Rumi and Hafiz. And I tell you, it's going to be just a moment of awakening, a moment of epiphany, of poetry and beauty and connection. I invite you to mark your calendar for that. Sign up ahead of time. Also want to let you know that the dialogues about race are continuing. Stay tuned for details, but there's going to be 2 different groups that are going to be happening. We're going to have a group for black men and black women, separate groups that are going to meet. And then there's going to be a group for those people who look like I do. And we're going to have dialogues where we then make a presentation to the other 2 groups of what we are doing and how we have educated ourselves about the injustice in the world. And we're going to come together and offer gifts to each group. That's going to be coming up all the way through the month of September and October. And then we're going to have vigils. Our program committee made a commitment yesterday to have 4 vigils on our Wednesday nights around the election that's coming up. We're going to come and allow you to be in the space here at Unity North with social distance for one purpose only, and that is to hold the high watch for our country, to be in stillness and to be in prayer and to be in peace during this election process. The world needs that more than ever. So stay tuned around the November 4th election process. 2 weeks ahead of time and 2 weeks after, we're going to be holding that sacred space. Mark your calendar for that. I also want to let you know that, real quickly, Dr. Robin Oppenheim is leading a study that is perfect. Teenagers are experiencing the same anxiety and stress that we are. And her study, which is absolutely free to anybody, no matter where you happen to be, on Zoom, the effects of biointrinsic transformational therapy. Kids who are dealing with depression, anxiety, anger, and fear. She is changing the world one teenager at a time. You can connect with Robin. She's doing a preview this coming Tuesday night, August 18th at 7 o'clock. To get the link to that Zoom, you're going to email her, robinopp, ROBINOPP, at bellsouth.net, or call me and I'll get you in contact with Robin. But that's just Tuesday night. If you know a teen that needs your light, that needs to hear these principles, let me know. She's changing the world. Right now, I'm going to invite you to change the world by offering something to this community. You can see the richness of our environment. It's beautiful, and it comes at a price. And right now, it'd be really easy for us as a board, for us as a staff, to get a little panicked about the finances where they are right now, but we don't do that because we know God is our source. But I'm asking God to do business as each and every one of you today, to find a way to say thank you for the words that have been spoken here today, to find a way to financially say, I'm in it, I'm part of the team, and I may be down 7 times, but I'm getting up 8 with my family and my friends. Text to give, you can do that very easily on this stream. You can go to Facebook and make a donation, or you can keep mailing those checks in. Harry Cohn, when I left his birthday last Saturday, I left with a check because he says, no matter how old I am, I still belong to that community. And no matter how far away I am, here's my check. I'm grateful for that very generous check, and I'm grateful for your generosity that allows us to continue to do the great work that we are doing at Unity North. I invite you to join the metaphorical hands and hearts and spirits and voices as we close with a celebration of the love that we are, the love that we are allowed to live and be. I thank you, yes, I thank you for the love you give to me. And I thank you, yes, I thank you for the love you let me be. And I thank you. You are held in prayer always, and you are in our heart. Have a blessed and beautiful week. If you speak Spanish, the Spanish ministry is also doing their stream today. Tune on in. They have a great program planned. Blessings to each and every one of you. And namaste. Namaste, everybody. Now must go. Blessings.